Hi guys, Sam from Everything PSP here. Before we get stuck into today's list, I just wanted to quickly say thank you so much to my subscribers. It's been an awesome experience watching the channel grow, and I'm so stoked to have reached 500 subs already. I'm super excited to see the channel continue to grow, and an extra special thanks to those who voted for today's video in our community poll. Now that we've unlocked the community tab, I'll be using it to get feedback on what you guys want to see in future and other fun stuff, so keep an eye out for more community posts coming up. Oh, and please leave a like if you enjoyed this video. It really helps me grow the channel in the eyes of our YouTube algorithm overlords. Now with that said and done, let's dive in, as today we're taking a look at another top 10 hidden gems handpicked by yours truly. Starting off our list in 10th place is the confusingly titled Holy Invasion of Privacy Badman, What Did I Do to Deserve This? Also known as What Did I Do to Deserve This, My Lord? If the title alone doesn't make you curious to try this game out, let me explain the premise. The game centers on creating mazes and monsters to help defend a demon lord from heroes looking to capture him. You play as the bad guys in control of a dungeon map, in an homage to classic RPG games, in which the goal is to make the deadliest dungeon you can by growing different types of units to patrol the corridors of your creation. The small gooey ones will feed the medium doggy ones, which in turn feed these little crocodile warrior dudes. It's all very fun and stylized, but the gameplay is engaging and well paced. You need to make sure your units have enough food to stay in fighting form, so managing your livestock is essential to success, especially later in the game. During the first phase, you can use your pick to carve out a map to your liking. I really enjoy this part of the game, as it gives me Minecraft and Terraria vibes. Pay attention to the mossy stones, which will spawn a gooey monster when smashed, and in turn the white glowing ones, which will spawn a doggy, or if left to go full glow, will spawn the dino warriors. Once the timer runs out, or you run out of dig power, the heroes will begin their descent into your newly created dungeon. You must place your minion in the safest possible location away from the entrance, so it's usually a good idea to dig down with twisting turns to give you the best chance of survival. After that, it's up to the AI to fight the good fight. You can still use your pick during this phase if you have leftover dig power, which can be useful to carve out a dead end, or supply your units with more food if needed. At the end of each stage, you're given a rank, factoring in how much dig power you have left over, as well as how quickly you eliminated the heroes. You can then use your score points to upgrade units for the following round. This game is really addictive and satisfying, and for someone looking for a different take on RPG tropes, this could be perfect for you. And there is also a sequel for anyone wanting more of this unique gameplay style. Our 9th entry on today's list is Hot Pixel, one of my favourite games on the system that I've put an embarrassing number of hours into as a kid. Your character is a half skater, half nerd, and a fraction mustard called Dijon, and you've got to guide him through a typical day in his pixelated digital world. Akin to Nintendo's WarioWare games, stages take the form of a series of minigames where you have a set amount of time to figure out the objective and complete it in order to progress, culminating in a boss level of some description. However, the Atari flavors in this game really help to boost it above a simple WarioWare clone, with homages to old coin-op arcade games such as Breakout and Space Invaders, among many others. There are plenty of unlockables and DLC which can still be found online that add a ton of additional games, as well as extras earned by completing various stages in the main game mode. Varying difficulties add on-screen distortion effects and overlays, as well as shortening the already tight countdown timer, increasing the challenge progressively through the game. You'll have to beat stages on the harder difficulties to unlock some of the other extras, but you can always manually select a particular stage to practice on if you get stuck. I've already done a long play video of Hot Pixel, which I'll link in the corner here, where I ran through the entire game on normal difficulty, but it really starts to get interesting when the stakes are raised in tricky mode and beyond. There are additional standalone games to play, and special playlists of games which are generated based on your activity, for example your most or least played games. Overall, this is an excellent pick up and play title that is well suited to the portable format, and with the addition of the DLC, has plenty of content to explore. I really love the visual aesthetic of the whole game, and it feels very cohesive. The little cutscenes between stages are fun, and add some much needed characterization to Dijon. I always thought Hot Pixel had a cool niche aesthetic, and it's had a bigger impact on my sense of style than I'd like to admit. I vibe with Dijon's skater nerd attitude, and I love the future retro vibes and the tongue-in-cheek self-awareness bursting from every frame. Definitely a great game to mess around with, and if you've tried work time fun on the PSP, this is basically that, but actually fun. Moving on to number 8, we have 2 games, Prinny, Can I Really Be the Hero? And Prinny 2, Dawn of Operation Panties Dude. Prinny is a fan favourite character from the popular series Disgaea, but you don't need to know any of the extended lore to get a ton of enjoyment from these titles, as they are basically standalone titles. His voice might seem annoying at first, but it won't take long for you to come to respect this unlikely hero. Prinny and Prinny 2 together make for some of the most difficult yet rewarding platforming available on the system. The gorgeous mix of 2.5D stages and detailed sprite work really make these titles come to life and give them a unique feel. Prinny, our protagonist, is sent on an impossible mission, but is extremely vulnerable, dying after a single hit in the hard difficulty, or 3 hits in the noob difficulty which I usually play on. The platforming is snappy, but takes a little bit of getting used to, as you can't change direction in mid-air like some other traditional platformers. This requires that you time your jumps and attacks with precision, but once you get the hang of it, it becomes very satisfying. You can use a wave attack that switches the camera into a cool isometric view. I recommend using this technique as much as possible to dispatch of enemies from a distance before they get too close to your vulnerable little Prinny. There are checkpoints scattered throughout the levels and boss battles at the end of each stage. Don't underestimate just how hard this game can be. It took me a few good tries to get to the boss in the first level, and the timing with the attacks was really difficult. Prinny 2 is more of the same good action, and I guess the saying goes that if it ain't broke, don't fix it, because Prinny 2 is nearly identical to the first entry, but with new maps and character sprites. The Disgaea series as a whole often receives mixed reviews, but for platforming fans looking for a challenge, I highly recommend trying Prinny and Prinny 2. Our number 7 pick is the perspective puzzle game Echochrome. This is a big brain time game for people looking for a reality bending experience. Inspired by MC Esch's artworks and including Oscar Rodersvaart's impossible constructions, the game requires the player to tilt and rotate the stage to obscure obstacles and create new pathways by use of forced perspective and other illusory tricks. While the tutorial is quite a slow crawl to get through, once you're in the main game, you will be treated to a unique and memorable experience. The slow pacing, minimalistic visuals, and classical music all help to create a sophisticated, intelligent atmosphere that makes you slow down and think about the stage ahead. Amongst the library of high action and full colour games, it's nice to take a change of pace and ponder on the simpler things in life. The quiet atmosphere can be a little dull for some, but I highly recommend giving the level creator a try. I spent more time trying to design my own stage and complete it than anything else while recording this footage, and it was really fun just messing around with the different set pieces and seeing how the avatar reacts. There are multiple ways to solve levels, and there are some nice variations in complexity that keep it feeling fresh. If you like illusions and impossible geometry, you'll feel right at home with Echochrome. Saving the day at number 6 is another pair of games, Exit and Exit 2. An action puzzle escape survival series developed by Taito. The basic premise is to lead the main character, Mr. Escape, out of hospitals, underground facilities, offices, and other buildings within a time limit. Along the way, the player gets hindered by obstacles such as fires, earthquakes, floods, or even meteor showers. Sometimes the player must help trapped individuals escape as well, and it will take quick thinking and planning ahead to exit the building successfully. Each level includes a starting point for Mr. Escape and an exit point. There may also be one or more trapped individuals within the level, and in many cases, Mr. Escape cannot successfully complete the level until he rescues some or all of the individuals before he escapes. There is also a generous time limit for each level. The trapped individuals come in 4 types, each with different strengths and weaknesses. It's up to the player to assess the situation and use the environment to their best ability to rescue as many people as possible while still escaping within the time limit. Both Exit and Exit 2 are practically identical in terms of gameplay, with Exit 2 offering more varied locations and challenges, as well as giving players access to harder levels right off the bat, instead of the progressive unlocking system of the first title. While the controls do take a bit of getting used to, once you get the idea of puzzle platforming down, it's a very fun game. I really enjoy the characterization of Mr. Escape, and the cel-shaded graphics, reminiscent of the Sly Cooper series, help to nail the neo-noir aesthetic. It seems that a lot of my choices for today's list so far have sequels, and for those looking for a challenging puzzle game that still retains some elements of action, I definitely suggest taking a look at Exit and Exit 2. Our number 5 entry is the absolutely bonkers Me and My Katamari. Roll your sticky balls all across the floor and pick up anything that sticks to them in this third-person puzzle action title by Namco. If you thought some of the previous games on this list so far were bordering on the strange and unusual, then be prepared to dive deep into the bizarre and slightly garish style of Me and My Katamari. For those of you like myself that have never really played a Katamari game before, this will knock your socks off in terms of its unapologetic, over-the-top presentation, and I honestly can't get enough. The king of all cosmos and the royal family decide to take some time off from their celestial construction and travel to Earth for a well-earned tropical summer vacation on their own sunny island. Unfortunately, the king's overexuberance creates a tsunami that strikes and devastates nearby Paradise Commonwealth Island. One of the residents, a turtle, washes ashore next to the royal family and tells them his tale. The king then decides to make new islands for the animals with several Katamari. Similar to the previous Katamari titles, the king sends the prince to various locations, which is full of paraphernalia used to create new landmasses. I don't even know where to begin with this one. I was instantly drawn into the world and accepted the craziness and just went along for the ride. The controls are a little odd, using multiple buttons in conjunction with each other to move the Katamari around, but once you master them, it offers a lot of dexterity and control. Start small by picking up little objects, then grow your Katamari until it can pick up larger objects still, continuing on until you've collected as much as you can within the allocated time limit. Stages vary in theme and location, and it's quite funny to see all the little set pieces get jumbled together as you frantically roll around the level. At the end of each level, the king will come down and give you a light dissing before rating your Katamari and commenting on its texture and feel, before turning it into a unique island based off your performance. This gives a really nice sense of reward where you can see the islands you've created and visit them between levels to speak with the inhabitants of your newly created locations. Definitely a hit title in my opinion that makes me wonder why more games don't embrace this all or nothing approach to the wacky and zany ideas. Not all games from the land of the rising sun are as colourful, however, as just missing a spot on the podium at number 4 is Shadow of Destiny, a time-travelling mystery adventure game by Konami. The objective is to guide player character Ike Kusch through the fictional German town of Lebensbaum, meaning life's tree, as he travels through time to prevent his murder and unmask his assassin. There's no health bar or action elements to this game, instead relying on using the time travel mechanics to alter the outcome of events. As an example, in the early stages of the game, Ike is killed and brought back to alter his fate. After seeing the gathered crowd, the assassin retreats. However, as with any self-respecting time travel story, once you change that one outcome, there is a chain of events that follows, creating even more dangers as fate tries to catch up and correct the flow of nature. I really enjoy the use of time in this game, adding a sense of quiet suspense as you know your impending doom is approaching. The character designs are satisfyingly Japanese, with Ike's proportions bordering on Slender Man and some of the body language of the NPCs being quite uncanny. But I find it all helps to add to the sense of impending doom and fuels the narrative further. Time travel becomes more intense in later sections of the game, where Ike travels back as far as the 1500s. You have to keep an eye on the time, as the game keeps 2 digital clocks, one depicting the time in the present day, and another for whichever era Ike time travels to. I won't spoil any of the storyline here, as it becomes really interesting as you unravel the mystery around Ike and his predicaments, but I definitely think fans of point-and-click era titles like Myst, Monkey Island, Broken Sword, and Beneath a Steel Sky will feel right at home in the quaint little town of Lebensbaum in Shadow of Destiny. Moving up to our bronze medal, we're going to make you an offer you can't refuse in the form of The Godfather Mob Wars. This is basically a GTA clone set in the Godfather universe of a mafia-ridden 1930s New York, but it's more than just that. It introduces us to a host of new characters, as well as returning favourites from the classic movies. There are also some light RPG elements in that as you play through the stages, you can level up your character, spending points on various attributes and skills. Each stage in the main storyline also unlocks exclusive movie clips that I can't really show you here for copyright reasons, but it's a nice touch. The pre-rendered cutscenes in-game also look really nice on the PSP display, and if you enjoy GTA games and want to try something a bit different, I definitely suggest trying The Godfather. I particularly enjoy the extortion mechanic where you can go and lay into a local business owner to take control of their operation, as sometimes this unlocks a secret racket behind the business that you can also take control of. As you build a portfolio of controlled territories, you will increase your passive income from all the businesses you've converted. Overall, this is a really fantastic game that has a lot of content to explore for fans of the Godfather movies and GTA games alike. Our silver star for today's list is none other than Black Rock Shooter, an action RPG in which players take on the role of the eponymous Black Rock Shooter, BRS for short. The game is divided up into several missions in which the player must clear objectives to progress. On the main overworld, BRS can explore the available areas and look for certain items. Battles begin when the player comes into contact with an enemy on the overworld in a similar fashion to some Final Fantasy titles. During battle, BRS can aim and shoot with her rock cannon at enemies, block against attacks, and sidestep to avoid them completely. If the player fires the rock cannon or uses the sidestep too much in a short time, the system will overheat, leaving the player vulnerable to attack until it cools down. Throughout the game, players can earn abilities that can be equipped to BRS and used in battle, each with their own cooldown periods. These include offensive attacks such as a powerful blast, a sniper rifle, or support abilities that can increase BRS's stats such as her attack or defense. Certain sections will also see BRS ride a motorcycle in which she can attack enemies on either side of her or use weapons to fire in front. I always appreciate the over-the-top anime style of JRPGs, and the shooting elements add some nice real-time strategy to the mix. Plus, watching your skimpily clad character bounce around the screen is always a welcome addition. For any uwu otakus out there looking for something outside the realm of turn-based JRPGs, or for fans of action games looking for something a little different, I'd say Black Rock Shooter would be a great game to try out. Alright then, so as per the previous Hidden Gems video, before we reach our number one spot, we have a couple of honourable mentions. In Warhammer 40k Squad Command, players take control of a squad of the Imperium's finest Ultramarines over the course of 15 distinct missions as they fend off an incursion by the Word-Bearer's Legion of Chaos Marines on the planet Ruhr 3. If most of that went over your head, don't worry, as I also don't have much knowledge of Warhammer 40k lore, but still got a lot of enjoyment out of this title. It follows the general premise of the tabletop wargame with action and hit points. When a unit's HP is reduced to 0, they're removed from battle as a casualty. Action points represent the time a unit has to act in a round and are expended when the unit moves or uses a weapon. Movement uses up varying amounts of AP depending on the distance moved, whereas weapons have a minimum amount allowable. The player can use more AP to aim a shot to increase the accuracy. This is depicted also by a band of fluctuating colour, which tightens and darkens as more AP is spent. Terrain is destructible, allowing for sufficiently powerful weapons to destroy an object and simultaneously damage enemies taking cover behind it. If a unit ends its turn with enough AP to fire their weapon, they enter Overwatch mode during the enemy's turn. In Overwatch, the first enemy unit that enters the Overwatch unit's line of sight is fired upon. Some heavy weapons lower the amount of AP a unit may use in turn to simulate their weight and complexity. Overall, this is an exciting twist on standard turn-based games, which factors in line of sight, cover, and range to the standard tactical gameplay format. Another well-kept secret comes in the form of Metal Gear Acid 2, and to a lesser extent its predecessor, Metal Gear Acid. These are turn-based collectible card stealth combat games set in the Metal Gear universe, but in an alternate reality, i.e. non-canon to the main titles in the series. Acid 2 uses a completely new cel-shaded graphics engine, replacing the darker graphics from the first game, and features an improved gameplay system. Gameplay in Metal Gear Acid 2 is similar to that of its predecessor, using a series of collectible trading cards based on the other Metal Gear games. Metal Gear Acid 2 also includes a new cover fire feature and movement fixes, and characters can now pick up items such as weapons and card packs by simply running over them instead of having to end movement on top of the item as in the first Acid game. There is a tutorial mode for beginners and a new arena single player mode that allows players to battle boss characters from previous games such as Liquid Snake and Vamp using the Acid 2 card battling system. There are also extra missions such as sneaking and elimination modes. This is a cool take on a beloved series that blends your favourite espionage characters into a fun card-based game that still feels very Kojima-esque, despite its departure from the canon storyline. Now with those out of the way, it's time for the big one, and our number one gold-plated all-time hidden gem on the PSP for round 2 has to go to Killzone Liberation. I've mentioned this game before in my top 10 co-op games list, which I'll link in the corner here, and while the ability to buddy up with someone for the entirety of the campaign is a fantastic feature, this game really stands on its own as one of the best shooters on the platform. As many FPS games struggle with the limited PSP controls, I think it was a very clever decision by the developers to move Killzone to a fifth-person perspective. With immersive environments and particle effects, decent voice acting throughout, and a cohesive storyline, the game has all the foundations of a solid title. Building on this further is the excellent AI and combat mechanics. Enemies will flee from thrown grenades, attempt flanking maneuvers, defend positions, and patrol in search of the player. With various weapons and upgrades, as well as different tactical equipment like trip mines, frag and smoke grenades, you can approach each firefight in your own way, making use of cover in the environments to stay protected and gain an element of surprise. There are simple puzzles and locked doors that encourage exploration, as well as hidden areas with extra equipment and special weapons. There are also vehicle sections which are fun, but really just act as filler between locations. I really enjoy the way Killzone looks, and the different locations and environments help to give the game more variety. Enemies get progressively more challenging and smarter as you continue through the game, but it never feels like you're pushed too hard. You'll have memorable encounters with the first of a new enemy type, such as the rocket launcher troops, but then as you continue through the game and face even greater threats, such as snipers and machine pistol units, the rockets suddenly don't seem so bad in comparison. I like this approach, how new enemies are added into the fold as you continue, and it gives the player a sense of progression as you develop your own tactics to take care of various enemy types. There is also a decent multiplayer versus mode that's a lot of fun to jam with friends, and if you can get it to work, there's also an additional DLC campaign available to extend the storyline even further. An absolute gem by all standards and a game that I think all PSP owners should play. And that wraps up our list for today. Those keen-eyed viewers may have noticed that including all the sequels and prequels I've mentioned, it's actually a top 17, but I've stated that now, so don't at me. Thanks again to my viewers for helping the channel reach 500 subscribers. I've been your host Sam, and I'll see you next time on Everything PSP.